Welcome back, everybody. In this video, we're going to continue working on multiplication of fractions. In particular, we'll be working on situations in which we actually have to simplify our fractions in the course of doing our calculations, and also we'll see some examples of finding areas of triangles and parallelograms and rectangles, as long as some general applications. So let's start. So wanted to remember, first of all, that how you do multiplication of fractions is basically you multiply the numerators together. Here in the lower right, you'll see A times C divided by B times D. You multiply the numerators together, that gives you the numerator of your answer. You multiply the denominators together, that gives you the denominator of your answer. So let's try just a couple of examples of that. So here we have 2/7 times 3/5. So 2/7 times 3/5. Multiplying the numerators together, 2 times 3 is 6. Denominators, 7 times 5, that's 35. And there's our answer. Okay, for B, we have 1/11 times 1/3. Multiplying the numerators together, you get 1. And for the denominator, you get 33rds. For the last one, we have 2/3 times 4/7. In the top, we'll have 8. At the bottom, we'll have 21. Okay, and that's it, basically multiply across. In this video, as I said, we're going to focus on problems where we may need to do some simplification. So let's try that. So let's start first with this one. We have 3/4 times 8/11. And what we're going to do is remember the fundamental property of fractions. For a fraction, as you know, you can multiply or divide the numerator and denominator by the same number and have an equivalent fraction. So here, both 8 and 4 have a common factor of 4, and so we're going to divide both the numerator and denominator by 4. So let me show you how that works. Before I do that, though, I want to just multiply it across, just like as if we didn't know or notice that there was some simplification. So if we multiplied across, we'd have 3 times 8, which is 24. And down below, 4 times 11, which is 44. So now 24 and 44, as you know, are both divisible by 4. So we could go through and divide and simplify this fraction, which is perfectly okay. But it's often easier to do the simplification earlier. So that's what I wanted to show next. Is how do we show the simplification earlier? So let me get this out of the way. All right, so both 3/4 and 8/11, one of the parts, 4 and 8, are both divisible by 4. So we're going to divide the numerator and denominator by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So how you show your work with this is you cross out the number that you were dividing and leave the quotient, the answer to the division. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. Okay, so now just for clarity, I'm going to rewrite this, showing what's left after the simplification. We'll have 3/1 times 2/11. This will give us 6/11. And you'll notice that this gives us the same answer as if we had done it kind of the long way, getting 24 44s. And then here we would need to divide the numerator and denominator by 4. 24 is 6 times 4, and then 44 is 11 times 4. And then we would divide out those pair of, as you saw, leaving 6/11. Almost always, or very frequently in working with doing this multiplication with fractions, it's easier to do the simplification along the way instead of waiting till the end, as you see here in blue. Okay, let's try that again. So in the next one, we have 3 fractions that we're multiplying. 2/7 times 3/8 times -14/15. So again, here we're going to use the fundamental property of fractions to divide out common factors as needed. I can see, first of all, that there's a 2 and an 8. We can divide the numerator and denominator both by 2. So we'll show that here. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, so now I did want to mention before I go any further, when you're using the fundamental property of fractions, as you know, you're multiplying the numerator and denominator or dividing by the same thing. But I couldn't simplify, for example, the 2 and the negative 14. Why? Well, because they're both in the numerator. You have to divide and multiply, divide or multiply the numerator and denominator. So one number on the top and one number on the bottom. Okay, and I chose to do 2 and 8 here. If we like, though, we could have used the 8 and the 14. Say, okay, well, both of those are divisible by 2. Which is better? Often it doesn't really matter, so you can just pick. I saw the 2 and the 8 first, so that's what I used. Okay, so we've divided out a common factor of 2. So then the next thing I can see is that there's a factor of 3 that 3 and 15 both share. So let's divide that out. So I'm going to divide the 3 and the 15 both by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Okay, there's a little bit more simplification to be done, but at this point, I'm going to rewrite what I have left just so that it's not full of crossouts and it's hard for you to read. So what I've got left so far is now 1/7 times 1/4 times negative 14/5. All right, so now I can see more clearly that the negative 14 and the 7 both have a common factor of 7. So we're going to divide that out. Negative 14 divided by 7 is negative 2. Don't forget that minus sign. 7 divided by 7 is 1. Okay, so now nothing else will divide out, it appears. But wait, there's a negative 2 and a 4. If you didn't see that, that's okay. I didn't see it at first, to be honest. If you didn't see it at first, you'll see it in the next step, okay? So as long as you get it by the time we get to the end. But in fact, yeah, let's go ahead and just take it out right now. All right. So now I can see this negative 2 and this 4 are both divisible by 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is going to be negative 1. And then 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. Okay, now that is definitely full of crossouts, so we can recopy once again. And it doesn't look like there's anything more to be simplified out, so let's just finish. Multiplying across, 1 times 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. 1 times 2 times 5, that's going to be just a 10. Okay, so this gives us finally negative 1/10 for our answer. All right. So let's try this next one, C. Take a minute and try this one on your own. So go ahead and pause the video and try it and then see how you do. All right, so let's work through this. So again, with this, you may take different steps than I do, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that there's different choices to be made. So again, here I can see this 7 and 14. I can see the 6 and the 3. There's some choices to be made here. This 2, I can't cancel with either the 6 or the 14 because they're all in the top. You need to pick something from the top and something from the bottom. 6 and 3 have a common factor of 3. 6 and 15 both have a common factor of 3. Which should I use? Doesn't matter. Take your pick. Whichever you like, whatever seems easiest is probably a good choice. Okay, so I'm going to take the 6 and the 3 first. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. There's so many little things to be careful of. Here's one. Notice in here, we're dividing 6 and 3 both by 3. And so when you divide 6 by 3, you get 2. A really common mistake is for people to get 3 on the brain and say, okay, 3 here. Okay, but that's wrong, right? Here we've abused the fundamental property of fractions. I divided the bottom by one thing and the top by something else. You're dividing 6 by 3, and the answer is 2. You want to write down the answer here, okay? Not what you divided by, okay? All right, so that's good. Let's see if we can get anything else out of this first step. It doesn't look like we can. The 6 and the 15 no longer have a common factor of 3 because I used up the 3 that 6 had. down here with the negative 2/3. If you rewrite this, it's going to be a little bit clearer. So let's see that. So what we have left is negative 2/1 times 2/7 times 14/15. Okay, now you can see that there's no 3 left. And in fact, there's only one last thing we can simplify, and that's the 7 and the 14. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 14 divided by 7 is 2. Okay, and so now let's just multiply across everything that is left. We'll have negative 2 times 2 is negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. And then down below, all we have is 15. Okay, and that's it. That's it, negative 8/15. Okay, all right, in the next couple, we are raising numbers to powers. So you know how exponents work. When you write 5 squared, that means 5 times 5, which is 25. It's not 5 times 2, which is... All right, sorry about that. My computer had a hiccup. Okay, there, we're back. All right, so 5 squared is 25. It means we're using 5 as a factor twice. It doesn't mean 5 times 2, which is 10. That's completely wrong. As another example, 10 cubed is not 30. It's 10 times 10 times 10, which is 1,000. Okay, just a quick review of exponents. So if we want to take 3/4 and cube it, so 3/4 cubed is 3/4 times 3/4 times 3/4. And for this, there's no simplification. So luckily, we don't have to worry about any of that. We'll just multiply across. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. And down below, 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. Okay, so we get 27/64. All right, so now, down below, we have negative 4/5, and we want to square that. So negative 4/5 squared, this will be negative 4/5 times negative 4/5. And then once again, there's no simplification that can happen here. We'll have negative 4 times negative 4, and then 5 times 5, and that's 16/25. All right, so that takes us to the end of this page. So moving on. All right, so let's go ahead and try a few more examples. So these problems I've taken from the book, and so we're just going to try these. I've marked a few of the even problems for us to do. Okay. All right, so let's actually pick up these examples in the next video. Okay. Until then, let me know if you have any questions, and then have a great day.